Greetings and welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G. Disclaimer, I am not a medical doctor and I do not provide medical advice. My doctorate is in theology and my interests include a variety of subjects such as philosophy, Moorish science, Reiki healing, crystals, holistic health, astrology, and numerology, as well as art, writing, entrepreneurship, and more. I am the founder of House of Reawakening Minds, a published author, former pastor, and local TV talk show host. Also, a retired municipal housing director. Last but not least, I am a wife, mother, and great grandmother. Now that you know something about me, let's get on with the show. Office Hours with Dr. G strives to bring you information, confirmation, and liberation from yours truly, along with an array of informative guests. We discuss people, places, and things you either didn't know or had never considered. Many times viewers receive confirmation about things that they may have encountered or thought, but were afraid to delve into, to take seriously, or share with others for fear of rejection. And last but not least, we hope to liberate you from the need to conform to the status quo and groupthink. Office Hours with Dr. G is here to assist you in knowing thyself and the wonderful universe you're part of. Because when you know yourself, you can heal yourself. Tonight's guest, Ira DeGramMaster Spencer, considers himself a common sense investor with a strong concentration in precious metals. He's a loving father of 8-year-old daughter Sovereign and 1-year-old son Messiah, and a devoted husband to his wife Jamie, who's owner of Sovereign Sweets. A self-proclaimed serial entrepreneur, Ira believes everyone should own a home-based business, have multiple streams of income, and pay themselves first in precious metal assets. I want you to help me welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G, Ira, the Grandmaster Spencer.
Hello, hello.
Hi
Thank
there.
you for that. Thank you for that. That's made me sound more important than I really am.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I want you to relax and be comfortable and, share your knowledge and your experience with our viewers. And, there'll be some that are going to be tuning in live while we're on here live. And then there'll be others that'll see this after the fact. But most of these broadcasts, I consider them evergreen. So whenever they see it or hear it, they're going to get the information that they most, definitely could probably use and profit benefit from. And tonight is no exception. A lot of times what we do here, or what I do here with my guests, many of the guests are metaphysical. They get into astrology, numerology, or holistic things. But as I said during my introduction, my interests are so varied. You know what I mean? There are so many different things that I am interested in, that I have the opportunity to be very diverse, in what we do here. So it's really a wonderful thing to have this kind of a platform, to be able to present people like yourself and the others as the weeks come forward. I hope to get into even more, some folks. They're like, how did she get them? Well,
Exactly.
It'll be because of the viewers, and because of the viewership and response to the guests that I have here on Office Hours with Dr. G. And tonight is no exception. Even though we're not talking about metaphysics, we're really going to be getting into, in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the alchemical, some alchemy because, we talk, you were, you talk about precious metal assets. And, when I think about metal and so forth, I think about alchemy, because way back in the day, they were trying to turn base metals into gold, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But, those who are students of the Bible know that there's a scripture that talks about how, all of the resources belong to God. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. And we attribute that to God. But as we are progressing in our knowledge and our awakening, we are beginning to realize, okay, so we the little g gods, but so that's mine. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you know what I mean? That's mine. And so today, what I wanted to start off with, we talked about it a little bit, earlier, but I would love to start off with the fact that what we want to do and what we want to accomplish tonight is to give the viewers an overstanding and an understanding, and some of them an understanding of the importance, given today's economic climate on a global scale, of being able to acquire and save precious metal assets. Whitler,
Yeah.
can take it away.
Yeah, no, I mean, thank you. I mean, it's probably more important now than it's ever been in our history, and you just have to look at what's going on in the world, associate that with what's going on with the economy. The stock market has completely fallen apart. We saw oil prices in the negative for the first time. I believe it's the first time in the history that we've had negative. I mean, companies are paying people to buy oil. It's insane, right?
They could just giving it away for free, though.
I mean, giving it away.
To the consumer.
I mean, it's absolutely crazy, right? And honestly, it's all relative, man. Everything that's going on with the COVID-19, how it's affecting, people are not stimulating the economy, so money's not being generated. So people are holding on. People are staying tight with their pockets. They're not paying their bills. A lot of people aren't. People aren't working, right? They're not working, so income's not coming in.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of different things that are taking place, and it's all relative. And so whenever you have times like this where there is a financial turmoil, so to speak, we can actually look through history. Every 30 to 40 years or so, there's a change in the monetary system, or there are some rule changes that really affect things. And I believe personally, this is just my opinion, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not I'm a common sense investor.
That's right.
As I said earlier, I do what makes sense to me personally, right? I don't, I don't even begin to give advice, so to speak, but what I just talk about what I do. Times like this, history shows us that gold and silver maintain value over time. A lot of people like to play the stock market game, and there's a lot of risk in the stock market, clearly. I mean, you're talking about 401ks being wiped out as we speak. I know people personally who've lost nearly 40 to 50% of their 401k. And the same thing happened in 2008. And for those of you who are not familiar with 2008, I mean, the housing market crash devastated the globe, the country, not just the country, but the world in terms of the economy.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw all-time highs in gold and silver. And that is my point that I want to get to is you can go through history. Gold and silver have always maintained their value. They are what we call safe haven assets, particularly physical gold and silver that you can put your hands on. I want to be able to touch it and feel it with my hands,
Right.
Because that's how I know I have it and I own it. So one thing, I don't know if you're familiar with usdebtclock.org, but it's a crazy website. You go to it, it looks like you're looking at the Matrix. It's numbers just all over the place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the real-time debt of the country. And we're over $25 trillion in debt. It's insane. We're clearly not going to
And
get
growing.
that back.
And growing.
And growing. I mean, it's growing by the second. It's crazy. But on that website, at the bottom right-hand corner, there's a little spot that says gold to dollar ratio, silver to dollar ratio. This is very key. The silver to dollar ratio is 173 to 1. And here's what that means. For people who buy and sell silver or gold on the stock market, there are 173 ounces of silver for every contract. So what that means is if you're investing in silver, and for gold, it's like 87 to 1. But if you're investing on the stock market, it's not likely that you can actually physically ever have that in your possession.
Right.
And now don't get me wrong, there are ways to obtain it in many cases, but in most cases there isn't. It's not possible for one person or for 173 different people to claim 1 ounce of silver. It's not possible, right? So that's why I need it in my hands. I need it physically. And I like to talk about it because a lot of us think that it's expensive or it's an expense in itself to acquire these things. That's why I say pay yourself first. You know, we talked about paying yourself first when you mentioned that when you were introducing me. What I mean by that is this. To me, I'm the most important part of my economy. The economy under my roof is the most important one. So the moment money touches my hands, 10% of it is going to me and my household first.
Well, and let me jump in for just a minute.
Sure.
Now, when you say money, you're talking fiat.
In this case, I'm talking fiat. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, because I want the viewers to know that you know the difference. That that private commercial paper or fiat is not money. Money has money has to be some kind of precious metal or metal. And you remember when let me reach over here. I should have gotten it earlier. But you remember when I spoke to you earlier, and I told you that probably about 20 years ago, I acquired. I don't know if you could, if everybody can you see this?
Oh yes.
Okay. This is metal, right? It's about 18 maybe inches long. And it specifically has a, it looks like a weapon, right? Because it's got points on one end, but it's got what looks like let me get it in front of the camera. 4-leaf clover, like not 4-leaf, but it looks cloverish like, but it's been pounded into this. I acquired this about 20 years ago. It was from I was told the Kikuyu tribe, a tribe in Africa. And this is, or at least at the time, this was considered currency.
Okay.
So these things would be traded, for commodities. I would assume, and maybe grain or cows or whatever. But so it proves, I told you I was going to show this, but this is actually, it looks like rusty steel to me. But this is their money, and it qualifies as money because it is metal or currency. Because it can be a conducer. It has to be able to conduct like that energy, and absolutely this can. So I don't know if they had a little sack on their back where they had all their little look like arrows down in, but I've had this for probably since about 91. I'm saying 20 years. Look that big. That's more than 20 years, right? I had it wrapped up in the 1991 newspaper. And was cleaning out the office recently, and I knew I had them somewhere. Didn't know where it was, but it was wrapped up in the old newspaper, I guess from 91 when I acquired it. But I like to show this because this is actually, could you imagine having to carry this? Now show your silver, silver, as opposed to this. Well, this could probably double as a weapon.
Right.
If somebody, you could probably, but I'm saying metal,
right,
precious metal, and for them, this is precious. At least in 1991, it was.
Yeah.
And so, I show that as an illustration. So what has happened is that we, meaning the public up until, recent times have been duped into believing that what we have, when we, this private commercial paper is money, but what it is a note or a debt or an IOU.
Indeed, it is.
And so at any time, I believe at one time, and maybe you can explain this, at one time, up until recently, the Federal Reserve note was also the gold standard by which other companies would base their, they'd have to exchange their funds into United States Federal Reserve notes in order to do business with each other. And that has recently changed. Can you address that? Talk about that.
Well, yeah. So you hit so many things just now. Oh, I mean, my mind is all over the place. So great. No, you hit so many topics. I kind of want to touch on all of them if I get a chance to.
Sure.
But no. So 1971 we were on what was called the gold standard, and I don't have one in front of me now, but I want to try to pull one up so you can see something. If you look at your dollar, it actually says Federal Reserve note at the top.
Oh, that's a
and at the bottom it just says $10 or $20 or what have you.
Federal Reserve note, yes.
But there was once a time where we had gold and silver certificates.
Certificates, right?
Right, and they would actually say, I'm gonna try to pull one up so you can just kind of see a picture of one. I'm using my phone. I apologize. I usually have one in my pocket here. I don't know if you can really see it. I don't know. How well can you see that?
Well, just bring it over, move it. Yeah, that way. There we go. We got you. Okay. So that says,
it says $1 in silver payable to the bearer on demand at the bottom of that bill.
Okay.
And I usually keep these in my wallet just to show people. At the very top, I don't know if you can.
Right there.
It says silver certificate and not Federal Reserve note.
Right.
You see that? And then they had gold certificates as well. Now, prior to when we were on the gold standard, just as you were talking about how having that metal, imagine walking around with all of those metal arrow-like things in a sack or something. They're probably heavy if you have a lot of them, right? Or even these ounces of silver that I have here. I mean, if I have 10 of these, I mean, that's cumbersome to carry around. So yes, the paper dollars were claim checks on what real money is. Real money is lawful money, is gold and silver, right? But of course, it's not simple to just walk around with that stuff. So that's how we ended up on a gold and silver standard, where the paper was a claim check on the money. It meant I could take that dollar bill, I could go to my bank, and they would give me in exchange for my dollar bill a silver dollar, and it's physical silver. And that's why these are silver dollars. But since we've come off the gold standard, we haven't been back on it since 1971. It was supposed to be temporary by President Nixon, right? But this silver is now worth over $20 an ounce. So it now takes 20 of those dollars to buy what's supposed to be worth only one.
Only one. Okay.
You see what I mean? And the same can be said for gold. A gram of gold, was about $1 back then. Now that same gram's about $60, right? So what happened? What's more valuable, the paper or the metal, right? The metal is. A lot of times people ask me, why is gold and silver valuable at all? Or even the metal, the piece that you had, like, why are these things valuable at all? And the reason why is because in many cases, we cannot reproduce these things. Man can't make gold. Man can't make silver. When we talked about silver and gold being the money of God, right? Being God's money, right? Or we can talk about it from this perspective. Supernovas create the chemical process that creates gold and silver. And humans cannot we can't replicate that. Gold and silver is also indestructible. So we can't create more gold and silver. We can't get more. We can mine asteroids in space, which is something that they are trying to do, believe it or not. But there's no natural way for us to increase the supply of it. And that is why gold and silver are the ultimate forms of money. And that's why they have been historically for thousands of years in many cultures and societies all around the world. I can go anywhere in the world with gold and silver and it's recognized as money. I can exchange it for currency or for goods and services anywhere in the world. It is the superior money.
So are there other metals, precious metals that have a similar value? What comes to mind perhaps is platinum.
Yes.
And there are other, like for instance, I do know I had a book on my shelf. It's probably not there now, but there is a book that talked about a certain metal that was available in Africa, and it was so. I think at the time, it was years ago, it might have been iridium or something. Some of those I know are used in different purposes other than just creating money, but it might be some jet propulsion or something like that. But there are others, and then there are those who talk about the fact that what we saw on the Black Panther movie, that there really exists within Africa, and some suggest even maybe Zimbabwe, like technology and things that make things move and make things stealth and make heal so forth. So, and that was a way perhaps of putting some of that out in the fiction, which they normally do as a way of deflecting karma and saying, well, I mean, you thought it was just a movie, but right. Are there any other types of precious metals that one could acquire that would have a long-term or when we think about passing something down to your children's children's children, I'm almost there. Children's. I'm a great glam mother, so it's a couple of them. Wow. Yeah, so awesome. But anyway, I think we need to educate. We would need to educate our young people about the value. Well, we probably need to educate all of us, but particularly our young people looking ahead. Many of them see older relatives who are now on Social Security or looking forward to retirement and Social Security. What do you see as a prospect for well, I'm a boomer and you're probably I don't know, an Xer, or I don't know what the
I'm an Xer.
You're Generation X. Then you got, so you're Generation X. I'm a baby boomer. So baby boomers are just going to barely make it in to get something before the well dries up. But X, or Generation X, and whomever has come after you all is going to have to look to different modes of long-term security. And so the premise that you speak of is that everybody should be doing something, many things, multiple streams of income, various skills and talents that to be activated and taken seriously. A lot of times people do things just as a hobby, but we're in such uncertain times that those hobbies might have to turn into, the real meat and potatoes for a person being able to survive. What would you recommend or suggest for how to approach our youth? Because like I said, even yourself, I know what you and your wife are serial entrepreneurs, but there might be some 20 somethings and even some teenagers who think that someday they're going to get in a rocking chair and chill. And I don't see it really, turning out like that. I don't see that manifestation because of, in my 65 years on the planet, I've seen a lot of changes. And, for instance, there's no such thing as penny candy anymore. What was a penny? What was a penny is now 25 cents. for instance. So that would be like what was, a big box of, say, cereal that may have cost, $1 is now a smaller box of the same cereal and it's $4.99. So talk
Exactly.
about, was that inflation?
Yes, inflation. I mean, again, you hit so many things there. As far as our young people go, I think you have to. We're in a different time now. We're not in the industrial age in the same way we were after World War II, where you had all of these factory jobs and all of these different things. Our public school system was designed to create workers, and I think we have to first understand that most of our children are being programmed to work for somebody else and to not necessarily dream. And I would like to think that most children, I know my children, especially my daughter, they have dreams. There's things they want to be able to do and achieve. But we, as how do I want to say it? The veterans of life, right, on the planet, we have to embrace that and show them that there's other ways to generate income. There's other ways that you can fulfill your dreams. My daughter is a majority owner of our event planning business. She's 8, right? But the reason she is, on paper, no less, right? But the reason is because she understands that she doesn't have to necessarily do what, I had to do in order to make it in this world. At 8 years old, you can own a business, but, you can't have a bank account. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
It's crazy how this thing is. And so I just think with the youth, the first thing is just, getting them to understand that they can achieve their dreams. Everything is possible. Anything they want to achieve, it is possible. And they don't have to do it the traditional way. I don't, my goal is, if my daughter wants to go to college, great. My goal is to have the money aside for her now so that she can make that decision. But my real goal was for her to actually not even have to. Because at the end of the day, why do you go to college? It's not necessarily for education, unless that education, if you're a doctor, lawyer, somebody like that, no doubt, get your education. I need you to know what you're doing, right?
Right.
But most people, they go to college and get a degree to get a job, to sit in the office and do nothing and be broke and be miserable. And for
Right.
what? And
You're
be in
right.
debt. You got to pay those tuition. I mean, that financial aid, you got to pay that back,
That's true.
right? So, my goal is, so my approach is, you don't have to do any of those things. You can actually have a business now. You can save money, and when I say money, I mean you can save currency and convert it into lawful money, right? Which is what I think everybody should do. My number is 10 to 15%. Your number might be different, right? It just depends on what your goals are in terms of how much you should get, or maybe you want to base it on your expenses. If I have $2,000 a month or $10,000 a month or whatever in the expenses, I need to have that much precious metal on hand, right, to reflect that, just in case I need it. So that's how I would approach that. Inflation, we go back to 1971. That's always my benchmark year to talk about, because you can look at any chart. I mean, we don't even have to go back that far. I mean, everything was cheaper, right? Everything was cheaper back then. I remember when I was a kid, my mom would go to the grocery store. We would get probably $100 worth of groceries, and we would have enough groceries for the next 3 or 4 months. It felt like we'd have just 3 or 4 shopping carts just stacked up real high. Nowadays, my wife and I go to the grocery store. I spend $100. I'm still trying to figure out what's for dinner. You know, and that's real. And like you said with the cereal boxes, you're exactly right. You can buy a gallon of water for $1, but you can also buy a liter of water for $3. Right? It's insane. It's insane. But this is the best part about it, or the not the best part. Let me not say it like that. This is the opportunity, right? 1971. This ounce of silver was literally $1. That's the value of this weight, was $1. Today it's $18, right? That's inflation. The value of the dollar went down, is what happened. That's why it takes more dollars to acquire this today. Very simple thing to understand, right? So the question is, do I want to save the dollars, or do I want to save the things that go up in value as a result of the dollar losing value. Well, I want to save my money in these things, right? Here's the other thing that's great about this. One, this goes up in value. So even if I buy this at $20 and it's worth $30 in a couple of years, guess what? I just made money. Now my money is making money.
Right.
This is a principle. I follow Robert Kiyosaki, and he talks a lot about, that's where I get to pay yourself first, and the millionaire mindset.
Rich dad, poor dad.
Rich dad, poor dad. Exactly. I want my money making me money. We're not taught to do that. We're taught to exchange our time for dollars. The dollars lose value, and our time is our most valuable asset.
That's right. We are the most precious commodity. When you to a business that employs you, it is you that is the most important asset. And so that's what they trade on and bank on and do bonds on, you. And if you could do that for someone else, then certainly you could take that same initiative or in addition to that initiative and create your own security, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah. You were asking me about other metals too. And yes, I mean, there's platinum, rhodium, of course, copper. You can buy all of those things. I'm not against any of it. I am personally strong in silver and gold, and right now specifically silver. And there is a reason why, and the reason is called the gold to silver ratio. What that means is how much silver will it take to actually buy an ounce of gold? Right now, that number is about 95 to 1. So if I have 95 of these, it'll equal up to an ounce of gold in terms of the value. So what happens is, as the value of gold and silver go up and down, that ratio closes. And where the opportunity is I can now exchange the silver for gold when the ratio is better, and I get more gold for free. Right? So it's not emotional. It's just math. I'm not playing again as far as that part. There's no secret to it. It's just I do what makes sense. Common sense investing, right? Silver's the better opportunity. Silver has the better upside in terms of possible gains versus any other precious metal right now. So, and it has the lowest entry point. And it's short. There's a shortage of silver right now. Silver is really primarily an industrial metal. Very little of it is used as an investment. Mines are shut down, especially as a result of this COVID-19. A lot of the mints are low in stock. When a few months ago, you couldn't even buy silver online. It was just crazy, and things like that are what are going to drive up the demand. The all-time high on silver was just about $50 an ounce in 2011. Wow. And if you bought silver prior to that market crash in 2008, you would have bought silver for around $8-9 an ounce. So the upside, if silver now hits its all-time high at $50 and gold hits its all-time high, the actual gain would be about 300% with silver versus about a little over 100% with gold. Gold's all-time high is $1,900 an ounce. Right now, it's around a little over 17. So it's already the window is already kind of closed there for gold, right? So again, I buy gold, I buy silver, but because the math is telling me silver makes more sense. So, and it's again less expensive to get into. It just, we can go on and on about silver and why, but for me, that's what makes sense, and that's what I do. And I personally think everybody should do it. I think everybody should save money in an asset that's going to gain value over time. Again, I'm not talking about money in the bank either. Bank accounts are giving you less than 1% interest on most checking and savings accounts. And even if you're getting something like 1 or 2%, inflation is 2 to 3% per year. So you're still not saving any money.
For instance, and I put a large sum of fiat in the bank a few months ago, and it was funny. The first month, the interest was probably about maybe five notes or something. I was like surprised. And then then COVID hit, and that next month, instead of it, because didn't touch it. So if I got five the other month, then I should have gotten five, five or 5.15 or something. It was like three,
Yeah.
it was like, oh, in that little space of time, the interest had gone to, I guess there was no interest, but a little bit of interest. It must have been a little bit. But I'm saying in a month or two, it changed from being that for less, it went down.
Right.
And so, we saw that with this COVID-19. Now, a lot of people, maybe they have to live off of their stimulus check and so forth. Some don't. But some who may have gotten that extra 600 on their
Unemployment.
unemployment. That was a time, to me, this is the time when you should be thinking entrepreneurship. I can see the sun is going down where you are. So
Yeah, I'm sorry. It may get a little dark. I apologize. I thought I had more light out here.
Well, I know. Look, I know with a precocious little 1-year-old, you want to be at a place where you could be less having to do your fatherly duties. Because a lot of times when we talk, I would like to commend you, because you always have your handsome little Messiah. I could hear you talking to him when we're talking and so forth. So,
Yeah.
you have to do what you have to do in order to do this. I mean, as long as we hear your voice. I'm just letting the viewers know why it got dark.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I apologize for that, everybody.
That's all right. That's all right. But just so it is. But yeah, so taking those funds, or taking some of those funds and investing them is a smart move. Would you think?
Well,
Maybe
yes,
not.
yes and no. And let me say it this way: when I think of the word invest, I think of having to take a risk, and most people right now can't afford to take any risks with their money, right? So again, that's why I take the common sense approach. I do what makes sense. Things like gold and silver, physical gold and silver, I'm not taking any real risk in losing any money with them, because I know the history of the value. I know exactly what they're going to do. And I know that they're always going to be valuable all the time. That is the key. Um, Another thing that we were talking about the silver certificates and the Federal Reserve notes and all of that. Those things are proof that your currency, that paper, changes over time. And when that paper changes, it's no longer valid. It's no longer considered legal tender, or it's no longer money, right? So things like silver and gold are always considered money and are always valuable all the time, which is why I can pass it down to generation to generation to generation. One example is I did a presentation a while back, and I had this slide that showed what a car would cost in 1920, like a Model T Ford or something. And at the time, that car was about $625, or it was equivalent to what a kilo of gold would be at the time. Today, a kilo of gold is over $50,000. And clearly, I can still buy a brand new car off the lot with that if I wanted to, right? But if let's say my grandparents put away $650 and stuck it in the shoebox, 100 years go by, I find this shoebox, there's $650 in it. Can I buy a car still? No.
No.
Not only can I not buy the things that I used to be able to buy, but that particular type of cash is no longer considered money anymore. It's no longer spendable. How crazy is that?
Oh, you're saying that because of the age of that physical cash, they would say, "Oh, this is lost.
Because
this is expired," so to speak.
depending on the type of note it is, it may still be considered legal tender, but most of those older notes are no longer legal tender. So you would just have $625 of useless cash. But if I took that useless cash 100 years ago, bought a kilo of gold for it, and just did the same thing, stuck it in the shoebox, put it under the mattress, 100 years go by, the grandkids find this box with this hunk of metal in it. That hunk of metal is now $50,000. That's a whole different story. It's a whole different legacy for your children. You know, so, and I'm using gold as the example because, you know, people resonate more so with gold in that regard, but with silver it would be the same thing. You know, it would just be more affordable, of course. But that's why you do it. It's not you're not going to get rich quick from buying gold and silver, but over time, you'll be able to pass down true wealth to your children, your children's children, your children's children's children, and it will always be valuable, and it'll actually even gain value.
Now, with regard to, it's interesting that you say that, because Grand Sheikh Taj Tariq Bey, who many who are on here or follow and love his teachings, one of the things that he said about, you know, he's always said is that we need to have silver. We need to, you know, we need to have silver on us. But a lot of times, you know, you can't take, like we talked about, you can't have a pocket full of silver coins, or let's go gold. You got
Right.
gold.
Mm-hmm.
So the economy is there's a big downturn, and nobody's taking fiat notes anymore. So you got this gold coin, you got gold coins, but the value is 17, say right now, 1,700 and some odd dollars. You need to buy groceries. Now,
Right.
somebody might accept the gold coin, but they're not, and say, oh yeah, well, you can get whatever you can put in your cart. You know,
Right.
they're
Right.
not going to give you any change, because
Right.
they're not sitting here with a, you know, equivalent of gold to, you know, fiat currency situation going on. They're not going to do that. So in it's more practical to have silver, like you said, 95 silver coins and 1 gold coin. At least if I have to give you my silver coin, the one, I still got 94.
Exactly. Well, again, and yeah, exactly. I mean, that's if you know, for me, that's if you want to play the that ratio game, right? Which is a game that I'm playing personally, right? I'm buying silver based on the ratio, but no, you're absolutely right. You know, even with gold, I mean, you can buy gold in smaller increments. It's tough to find it. Of course, we do know of a platform where you can get that in smaller increments. So the whole idea is, you know, if you are in a situation where you need to actually transact in it, you don't really want to give up the ounce of gold if you don't have to, you know. But I mean, you know, if you have it, at least you have it. I mean, that's the beauty of that to me. The other thing is, what's just as powerful was what you just said, is what if we are no longer using dollars?
Right.
You know, what if, you know, and we don't know what's going to happen. I like to think, you know, in my lifetime, I'm going to see a dollar collapse. I feel like that's going to happen because of our debts that we're in. Also because the dollar is worth less than a nickel.
Can I correct you? And I know you're talking about the nation, but it's not our debt. It's the U.S., the United States corporation's debt that they want to put on the people, but it's not our debt. They've lied to us about, you know, it being our debt.
No, you're absolutely right. It's not our debt, and it's not our money either.
Right.
That paper stuff is not ours. It's not. That's not mine.
Which is one of the. Yeah. Go ahead.
No. But that again goes into why you want to own the metals and own them physically, because that is yours. That's the difference. You know, that's lawful money, right? So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, well, so that was what my understanding is, that when 9/11 occurred, and this will get a bit controversial, but that Germany wanted to see their gold, and I'm not sure of why and these different countries had to give their gold over to the U.S., except for the fact that there's a more global. The corporation is more global than we think. We think it's a country, but it's not. It's a corporation. So that corporation, which is global, was able to get Germany to say, "We'll keep your gold for you." I don't know why. And then when they were ready to come and see their gold, or maybe take their gold back, because you had it for safekeeping. Now we need our gold. They were told, to get to stepping, out of here. And the next thing we know, the towers are down, and allegedly the gold was being, supposedly some of it was being stored there, you know, in the under those buildings. And so, you know, those kinds of things happen to cover up certain things. And in my opinion, what we're experiencing now, with, you know, various and sundry things going on, may also be another indicator that the stuff is collapsing. So
Right.
when, you know, when, and the irony of this, with me, and the way I think, is that when everybody running around the, you know, the United States, you know, the America, trying to, we call it a maxim, trying to find toilet paper. There you go, some light. Yeah,
I'm trying to get some light here. So.
I see. Trying to find toilet paper. And, you know, they said there are ships sitting out in the, you know, in the Pacific and so forth, outside of the coast of, say, California and so forth, loaded with things that China would not allow to come in to be offloaded. So, you know, the various docks and so forth were drying up with work. But the reason was because they didn't want the fiat currency. And so when everybody's looking for toilet paper, I made a joke, and I would tell people, you know, they're probably saying to the America, you know what, you know, that fiat that you got in your pocket, use that, because that's the value that it has to us. We no longer value that as lawful tender, as, you know, legal, you know, lawful tender. It's what it is. It's no more than toilet paper. So, you know,
Right.
don't run around looking for, you know, Scott and Charmin and all that. You know, get yourself, you know, a whole stack of that, and, you know, soften it up. Hey, wipe away. You know what I mean?
Hey.
Because we are not playing that. What would you call it? They're not going to be subordinate any longer to us in the meantime, or to the U.S. corporation. You know, they're not doing that. But in the meantime, we find that most of, under other former commanders in chief, lots of our what was it? The products that were, you know, parts and the thing, manufacturing was taken offshore, was sent to, you know, China and different places, and Taiwan, because of cheap labor. Yeah. And now some of these businesses, you know, we're hearing all these stores making this, shutting down, Pier 1, this, that. Pier 1's probably full of Chinese and Hong Kong, Taiwanese, delicate, you know, all kinds of things in there. They can't get it. They don't want the fiat.
Right.
So these companies are saying, you got to come with something else, but they have nothing else. It's like, by agreement, you know, we agreed to take it, but we're not taking it anymore. We knew it was nothing but, you know, private commercial paper, but at least at one time there was equivalent of gold and silver that backed it up. Now you're printing it like monopoly money.
Yep. It's interesting. So here's why Germany and several other countries, it's called repatriating their gold, right? Repatriating. I think that's the word.
Bringing it home.
we after World War One, the United States became the hub for all the world's gold reserves to protect these other countries while they were in the war. They were afraid of course, their reserves being stolen or whatever the situation was. And at that time, the United States wasn't in that war, so the United States was a safe place to keep the gold. World War II rolls around, and that became ever more evident. So in 1944, you had what was called the Bretton Woods Agreement, where government heads came together and decided on a gold standard based on the dollar being backed in gold, because the United States had a majority of the world's gold reserves in its possession. And it was easier to just back currency with gold than it was to just give them the gold back. So now if Germany's paper money is backed by the dollar and the dollar is backed in gold, if I'm Germany, at least at that time, it kind of made sense, right? That's what happened. Now you just fast forward all these years now, and Germany is like, you know what? No, I want my gold back. And the United States told them to kick rocks, basically, right? Um, they gave them a crazy time window as far as when they could even give some of it back. And the reason why is because, of course, what does the United States do? They did the same thing that they do with the fiat system. They loaned it out to multiple different places, multiple different countries, and now they can't get it. They don't have it. And they don't have it to give to Germany. They don't have it to give to France. They don't have it to give back to all of these countries whose gold we have. They don't have it. So the key takeaway to that, to me, though, is that these countries store their own assets and their own wealth in physical gold and silver. There's actually whole charts of how much gold and silver countries buy and keep in reserve. China and India are two of the biggest countries in the world, buying and refining more gold and silver than any other country in the world, including the United States right now. There's a reason for that. They know something that we don't know, right? What they know is that gold and silver, that is real money. It can be used to settle debts. It can be used in trade and barter, and we can base whole money systems on its value. They can determine a monetary value, which is fine, which is, the price you see when we talk about the value of gold or the value of silver. That's the stock market price, and that's the price they give it. But we know that it's manipulated. We know that that's not the real price. We know that's not even the real price in comparison to the dollar. Silver should be almost $3,000 an ounce. Gold should be almost $25,000 an ounce, but it's not. And it's not because governments control the price, but because I know what the real price should be and what it could ultimately be based on a massive reset or a change in the monetary system. I'm going to buy the metal. I'm going to get as much of it as I can. And I'm going to say this to those who, like you mentioned earlier, there are some people, maybe they can't afford to save. Maybe they needed those stimulus checks to pay bills and things. I totally get it. So I'm not here to tell you to do anything different, but this is what I decided to do. Why not leverage a system of acquisition? Why not leverage a business or a platform that will allow you to, one, get the funds so that you can afford to save? And even better, if that same platform can actually give you the assets that you want. So it just so happens that, I've had a lot of success with several platforms that give me gold and silver. I get paid to help people acquire those assets. And then, of course, I can acquire the assets for myself using the funds that I'm getting paid. So I'm not even coming out of pocket at all. So it's not costing me a thing. I'm not really exchanging my time for the asset. I'm just helping other people like yourself and other listeners and watchers of this video. We're helping help people acquire these assets. And as a result, we're able to acquire them ourselves as well for ourselves and our families. And we're not even coming out of pocket. To me, that's the best way to do it. That's the best way. The best way is to leverage a system. Help other people make money. If you want to make money, help other people make money, and the money's going to fall in your lap, right? And when I say money, I'm talking about real money, right? Gold and silver. And you can always exchange gold and silver. See, the other thing that happens is we have I'll call it almost a poverty mindset, in that the acquisition or the purchase of gold and silver is considered an expense. I don't even consider it a purchase. For me, it's an exchange.
Yeah.
I'm just exchanging one type of money for a better type of money. And I can always exchange back if I want to. And that's the thing. You still have your money. You can always exchange it back. And if you're able to hold on to it long enough, you would even make some more money in the process. And it doesn't cost you any additional time or energy or effort. That metal is just gaining value. And so it gains value at a higher rate than any bank account's going to. On average, gold and silver can go up 9% per year. Nobody's getting 9% interest on your bank account, and if you are, tell me where you're banking, right? And so I'm all about leveraging a system. That goes back to having a home-based business. This is the reason why. One, you want to beat taxes. Having a home-based business allows me to write off certain bills in my house on my tax return. So I'm not actually paying taxes on all of my income. A lot of people don't know that business owners pay their income. Pay taxes last. So if you are paying taxes, being a business owner will actually be better for you. It'll save you money. You'll be in a better tax bracket, and you'll be taxed on less money than you are if you're a W-2 employee. Virtually everything I do is a tax write-off. I buy clothes. Even when I get my gold and silver, it's a tax deduction because it's a business expense for me.
Okay.
So that is, it's those types of things and that type of thinking that can help anybody, regardless of where you are with your income level. You can get started acquiring physical silver or even physical gold with less than you think. You can. It's very easy, very affordable, and more importantly, you can even make money in the process. And so anybody who's interested in, just understanding how to do that, definitely get in contact with Dr. G or even myself directly if you like, because that's what I'm all about. I just want to help people win. I don't want to make it complicated. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like this topic, most of us, before you can even talk about why you need gold and silver, a lot of us need to be educated about money, period. We need to know how this stuff works, where it comes from. Why are we working for it in the first place?
Right.
Right? So once you understand those concepts and you understand how money works, which is what, quote unquote, they teach their children, right? They teaching them how money works, and they're passing down those lessons to their children and to their family. And we're not necessarily doing the same thing as a people, as a whole. And I don't understand why not. We're in a capitalist society. Money makes the world go round as long as we're in the United States of America. So to get ahead, you got to play the same game they're playing. They're acquiring assets. A business is an asset. It's a leverage system. These are things where you can generate an income with less time, and you can use that income to build assets, and those assets can generate even more income. You're talking about real financial and real time freedom. That is a real achievable thing for anybody at any income level. And to me, I just want people to understand that is a real achievable thing, because, I get it all the time. Oh, I don't have time to do this, or I don't have time to do a business, or I don't have time to save money, or people tell me they don't have time to save money, right? Or they can't afford to save money.
Wow.
I promise you can. I promise you can. Of course, you want to start with, changing maybe some of your spending habits, but overall, you can do it without that. It's a mindset. It's a mindset. I mean, I have a goal. I know how much money I want to be able to leave to my children when they're 18 years old, and I know I have a plan for what I like them to have access to when they get older. So everything I'm doing is based on that. It's all about math and what makes sense.
What about we did touch on this, but what about the Bitcoins and the blockchain technology and all the stuff that people have introduced? Because they say we're headed towards a cashless society,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm suspicious of Bitcoin as being. I'm as suspicious of Bitcoin being totally independent from government manipulation as I am of Facebook and YouTube being independent of those things.
Right.
Well,
Well, the difference is this: blockchain technology is in itself decentralized, meaning there's no central owner of the platform itself. There's no one person or one entity or one group of people that can control it or take ownership of it. It is pretty much the opposite of what a banking system is. Um, in a nutshell, we the people are the ones in control of Bitcoin. and the technology behind it in terms of its security and how it works and its value. And there's not um, any governing bodies that have say so in that. At least not yet, of course. But
Well,
that is the whole point to it. Is the power is put in our hands more so than it is in a banking system. I'm sorry, you were about to
it was
say
like that
something.
may be, but we had I guess it was a workshop by a brother who, and I apologize, I can't remember his name, but I know who he is, who came down from New York territory to do a Bitcoin workshop. And I'll never forget, I've forgotten the exact bank, but it was a major bank, like either Wells Fargo or Chase or something. In his presentation, he was saying that whatever this major bank was, that they were talking negatively. They were
Mhm.
publicly talking very negative about Bitcoin. And this has been a couple of years ago, but probably like 3. And yet they had invested
Mhm.
like millions in Bitcoin. So that was suspicious to me, because
Yeah,
they knew something was coming. You know what I mean? And they're talking about, oh, this is, not stable, and this is not, whatever, it's hyperinflated and da da da. But they were investing in it on
yeah.
the
So well, here's what happens with when you hear about that kind of stuff. The blockchain technology is a direct threat to our current money system. So no bank is going to tell you that they are investing in blockchain technology unless they plan to incorporate the technology or the cryptocurrency into their banking business practices for their customers. But so far, I think Bank of America is the only one, and JP Morgan are the 2 banks off the top of my head that I know have invested in blockchain technology specifically. But no, Wells Fargo won't even let you buy cryptocurrency with their credit card. If
well,
you have a Wells
it was
Fargo card,
probably Chase. Now that you're saying it, it was probably Chase that was the bank. I'm thinking,
yeah. Well, check this
you
out. So the CEO of Chase actually said Bitcoin was a scam years ago, but then he turned around, bought a bunch of Bitcoin, and
yeah,
now JP Morgan is working to develop their own cryptocurrency.
that's what I was talking about. That's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
Yep. Yep.
So, yeah, but once they get in, because we know the banking system, you got to go all the way back to the central banks. So everything that looks individual and looks like it has its independent standing, it's the tentacles. It's just the octopus tentacles.
Yeah.
You don't see the head of the octopus, but it's
Right.
attached to all of these banks because they're just little subsidiaries of them. So, for us as a, trying to become independent of this kind of control, so to speak, and to stop being at the mercy of, whatever they decide to, bring the prices up, inflate, drop the interest rates and so forth. We've got to become producers. This is my big thing.
Mhm.
We have lost our drive to produce. We are consumers. We've lost our. We were the ones that built, this nation. We were the ones that founded the nation and allowed ourselves to be put in a secondary citizen role with when we are the sovereign or aboriginal people, and we built it and we allowed others to come in, and we've taken a back seat to our own, entrepreneur, back to entrepreneurial, being
Mhm.
entrepreneurship, our entrepreneurial spirit. And that's one of the things that we talked about this, that I see has occurred as a result of this, pandemic. Anyway, the thing is that many creative and entrepreneurial, we've seen, making masks, even though,
Yeah.
have, you know, a lot of us don't like wearing the mask, but if we got to wear a mask, then some people want to design a mask,
Right.
I just I just want to get in and get out what I want and take the mask off, really. But I'm saying, but we've seen entrepreneurship and creativity. We've seen people, and speaking of that, now share with the viewers what your wife one of her businesses is, and how she had to make what she did to kind of I guess you would call it, you need to do something else. And all,
Yeah.
sometimes I lose my words and it's up in my head and won't come out of my mouth. But you know what I mean.
No, it's all right. No. So my wife owns a company called Sovereign Suites, and that's named after our daughter Sovereign. And it's an event planning business. But she also makes customized treats, like candies and cakes and cupcakes and things like that, and decor for events, all customized, all handmade things. So clearly with the quarantine, nobody's booking events and very few people are ordering those types of products from my wife. And for us, that's a major part of our household income, is that business. So when we started to see that money kind of go down, it's like, man, we had to make a choice. We're like, how are we going to survive this quarantine period? We don't know how long it's going to last. I know right now some of these states are opening up and all of that, but when this first started, we didn't know what was going to happen. It just so happened that I'm trying my best, I promise you, to get healthier, and I'm eating better, and my wife is as well. And we started to consume sea moss in various different forms and flavors and things. And we've supported a lot of businesses that make it. But one day, my wife is the kind of person who's like, look, okay, we're spending X amount of money on this particular thing. How can I make my own? Right. And so that led to, we've discovered how we can buy in bulk, how we can make it, the recipe, so on and so forth. And ever since that happened, what was once an event planning and cake and cupcake business is now a CMOS business. And we actually are busier now. We've been busier during this quarantine than we've ever been at any other point since we've been running this business. And it's largely in part to this. CMOS has a lot of health benefits. 92 of the 102 minerals the body needs, and we can go on and on and on about that. But of course, as a result of this pandemic, a lot of people are really concerned about their health, and they want to do whatever they can to be healthy and build the immune system. So, it wasn't by accident that this happened the way it did. So that's how we adapted. We just took, the idea of, okay, well, we can make this stuff ourselves. And we started to make it, and we started to offer it at a very fair price. And again, it's been crazy. The mailman comes in my house, and we're giving him 20, 30, 50 boxes at a time. And he's looking at us like we're crazy. He has to take a special trip to my house to pick up packages and ship them out on a daily basis because of just how much success we were having. And that just goes to show, you just got to be adaptable and be creative and use the tools that you have. You'd be surprised as to what anybody can make a profit or make a business out of. I tell people, do what you love, or do something you're passionate about. I'm passionate about, helping people make money. So I do things that help people make money. My wife is passionate about events and things of that nature, and children. So that's why we started that business. And now we're getting very passionate, more so, about our health and things of that nature. So we just incorporated it. I don't try to, force feed anybody any of my philosophies or anything like that. I just share with people what I do and why I do it. And if it makes sense, I can show you how to do it as well, or I can help you, get with what you're looking for. That's all it's about. We're just trying to help people. If you want to see a change, be the change. You want to help people get healthy, be a solution for that. You want to help people make money, be a solution for that. People, the mask thing. I have a few friends who started making masks and things. I buy them. I support these people.
Yeah, my son did too. My son is in Atlanta. He started doing that. I'm looking over here, and there's Rosalind NYNE says, how can you tell if your coins are real?
Oh, that's a great question. So, me personally, I have been buying gold and silver for probably 10 years now, maybe a little more than that. There's a place that I go to locally here in Delaware. It's called Diamond State Coin. It's on Marsh Road in Wilmington. I've been buying silver and gold from them for many years. And so whenever I buy anything, excuse me, excuse me, let me get a sip of water. Whenever I buy any precious metals, I take it right there and I have them do a test. And there's an acid test, and there's of course what is it, like the 4-way magnifier where you can look up really close to the coins. And so there are ways to tell if your coins are real or fake or what have you. And there are a such thing as fake, coins. And that goes into why it's important to build a relationship with a reputable dealer or a reputable company before you spend a bunch of money on anything. I would hate for anybody to just go on some random website and spend $1,000 on some silver, and then you get it in the mail and you get a bunch of junk. It can happen. It can totally happen. So I highly recommend, if indeed you have a place locally that buys, that deals in gold and silver. And when I say that, I don't mean a we buy gold place or a pawn shop. I mean an actual, either a coin dealer or a currency dealer or a precious metals bullion dealer or storage center. If you have a place like that in your local area, take your stuff there. To buy a piece of silver. I challenge anybody with the platform that we use. It's called Quicksilver. That's what I did. I bought an ounce of silver. I went and got it tested. My guy said it was he said it was the nicest he's ever seen because the stuff comes brand new from the mint, untouched, uncirculated. But once he gave it the go, I said, okay, good. And I've been running ever since. And I still will periodically get stuff tested because I want to make sure that I am getting exactly what I'm paying for. So that's the way to know. But again, more importantly, or not more importantly, probably just as importantly, is to build a relationship with a reputable dealer and a reputable company. And I believe that I've done that on both ends. So that's what I would tell that person to do.
Okay. Well, yeah. And if there are any other questions, please put your, make sure you post your questions, and I'm looking for them so that I can we can at least get a response for you. I want to go back to something. I've got my little banner up for if they want any information about Quicksilver. I kind of put my link up, and it's kind of scrolling.
Yeah, sure.
It's scrolling across. I want to go back a little ways when you said gold and silver can be used to settle debts. One of the things that I've learned is that, since we don't have lawful money, and say, and we're not really paying a mortgage because what it says is that if you read the documentation, that we're giving them a gift of the donus, and that they're probably they are doesn't say this, but what they're doing is selling that mortgage, bundling them and selling them as derivatives, and getting maybe 10 times what they charged us out of what they call the Sister Q Trust, out of our own account, and then having us donate back to them in the form of mortgage payments, but that we could take a gold or a silver coin, because they really never had, we don't have any lawful money anyway, except for that. And we could give that to them if they would take it and say, this is paid in full.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's money. It's money. If they won't take it, they're silly. But even if they won't take it, you can always exchange it back into cash, and of course they will take cash.
No, I'm talking about specifically a coin is lawful legal tender.
There's actually about 13 or 14 states where gold and silver coins are legal tender on their own. Yeah, and that number is increasing. I'm sorry.
Is there a place where one could get that? See that list? Is it online or?
Oh yeah, you can just do a Google search for it. You can just Google search states where gold is legal tender or something like that, and it'll have like Indiana, I think, Arkansas, Kansas. There's a few different. Texas is one of them. There's a few different states. Don't quote me on all of them because I don't pretend to know everything, and I can be wrong. But But no, there's also legislation that's out there to return us to a gold standard, or to at least give some backing to the dollar in gold and silver, because of everything that's going on. So at the end of the day, to me, the moral of the story is gold and silver. That's the moral of the story. The moral of the story is I need to own that stuff, because apparently these governments and these other people, this 1% who control all the wealth, that's what they deal in. When they say you can settle debts in gold and silver, we're talking about countries paying other countries in precious metal. We're talking about things that we typically don't see for ourselves. This is for the average person. This isn't normal talk. We don't even fathom those kinds of things. But the truth is, we can do the same thing they can do. We just aren't taught to do it. And so I teach people to do it. That's what I teach you. I teach how to operate the same way they do. Acquire gold and silver, build a gold reserve for yourself. I like to call it a gold standard for yourself. Pay yourself first in precious metal assets first. That means before you pay a bill, before your power company gets a dime from you, you should be putting 10% of whatever you touched in a metal, in an asset, or in something that's going to pay you more money. That asset could even be real estate. For some people, real estate's an awesome asset to own, right? But you want to pay yourself first, because you're more important. And going back to even transacting in it, there's such a thing called a safekeeping receipt, or a SKR, where you can actually go to a bank and get loans based on gold and silver as opposed to credit. There's all kinds of things you can do with gold and silver that, again, we're just not taught about it, because if the governments don't like gold and silver because it keeps them in check. When we were on a gold standard, they could only print as much money as we had in gold reserves.
Right.
So
right.
our debt system that we're in now couldn't really exist with a gold standard. Now, debt's not all bad, but most of us aren't taught how to deal with debt. So, it's bad for most people. But, once you understand that, it's not even, it's simple. It's simple. You just save as much as you can when you can in something that's going to gain value, and don't look to sell it so fast. You can't be, it's not a get rich quick scenario. It's not a quick flip. Gold and silver take time to grow. But typically times like now, where you see the economy in shambles, the government's printing stimulus checks. I mean, that's more debt in itself. That money is coming out of thin air. They're literally turning on a machine and printing paper and sending it to you. It's not even real.
Isn't that interesting? Can I stop you for just a moment?
Sure.
The what's going on now with the unrest is allegedly, and I say it with the air quotes, allegedly happened because a person passed a counterfeit $20 bill. And
Oh man.
I've never seen anyone arrested for that. Even if when I could go through the line, I could have gotten a $20 bill that was counterfeit just very innocently, because somebody gave it to me. And if they take that pin across it and it doesn't turn, or it turns, I don't even know what it's supposed to do. But if it doesn't, meet whatever the test is, then am I to be arrested? You know what I mean? I'm talking about how foolish this whole scenario is to me and my thinking. So I can't see somebody having to get arrested. I mean, going to the point of arrest. It might take, look, well, we're confiscating this bill. You can't have it back. We got to turn it in. And, our security guard might want to know what your name is, or, who are you? But, so in case, we need to get back to you. But to be arrested and then killed for that is kind of crazy. And what came to mind was before I thought about the other stuff in the scenario that stinks to me. But what came to mind was that if he was arrested and killed for passing a counterfeit 20, then the United States Treasury, or the whatever, what should be their punishment for all of this fake money that they've been printing and passing on to people? You see what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I can answer that. I don't you know what I mean?
See the
But
irony?
no, I 100%. It's a sad and sick. It's a sad and sick thing. That's, I mean, yeah. I'm at a loss for words now. You totally took me somewhere else.
Yeah, but I
Um,
mean, but I'm saying, to me, counterfeit. Okay, you doing
yeah,
counterfeit. You're doing the same thing, Federal Reserve. You're
you are.
you're doing the very same thing, and you're making it because if they want to keep us grounded within, I think, the borders, because if we would take this monopoly money other places, it may not necessarily translate, into, oh yeah, because understand Canada for years has like, we don't want that. So we used to get, remember, Canadian dime or nickel in your stuff, and you were like, oh shoot, I can't spend that. And they're the same way about our dollar.
Yeah,
They've been like that for a while, a few years at least, that they don't want the dollar. So, if they can keep us locked down inside these parameters where they can give us the play money, right?
right.
We won't know when we go outside of here, when we try to do exchanges, and they're like, what? We don't want it. And we're going like, wait a minute, what do you mean you don't want it? Because it has no value. It only has value within the construct of where you live, and the illusion called the United States of America. This is not, the U.S.A.U.S corporation, which is a
Right.
corporation and not a country. That's the only place where you can exchange legally that for tender, but not in the real world. In the real world, we know it's play money.
Exactly. And other countries from around the world also figured that out too. And that's why when we end up, if things happen to be as bad as they can get, which is something like 1932 or worse, it's going to happen on a global level. And this is where things get interesting. Um, Matter of fact, right now, we talk about this can't happen in America, but in Venezuela, there's what's called hyperinflation happening, where the papered money is literally not worth anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost the equivalent of $300 would buy you a carton of eggs. I know a few years ago, maybe like 10 years ago in Zimbabwe, the Zimbabwe dollar hyperinflated to zero, and a bus ride cost $100 trillion.
Mm.
I mean, imagine being a trillionaire in a cash that you can't buy anything with. I mean, these are real. You can research this stuff. This is not, I'm not, this is real stuff that's happening or that's happened. The Zimbabwe dollar used to be more valuable than the dollar back in the 80s. So it wasn't that long ago that
Mm-hmm.
their whole system just collapsed. And it's, corrupt government. So because of the time we're in now, I think we're going to see changes globally that's going to affect the whole economy. And now is a time to buy precious metals more than ever. Cryptocurrency is one of those things. We're still in the trial period with cryptocurrency. I mean, it hasn't been around long enough to really know how it's going to work in a crisis like what we have now. But what gives something like Bitcoin an advantage is that it's just digital. We can just move it instantly. I can send you $100,000 in Bitcoin to another country, and I can do it relatively instantly. And I can also do it without a bank being involved, and I can do it cheaper than what a bank would charge me to send it. And I can convert the Bitcoin back into cash if I wanted to. It's peer to peer. It's me to you. There's no middleman really in that transaction.
It's like the barter system that we used to
Very
have.
much so.
Right.
Another advantage that Bitcoin, not an advantage, but Bitcoin has in comparison to the dollar is that there is a finite amount of Bitcoin that exists. So you can't actually print Bitcoin like you can print dollars. Just like how with gold and silver, there's a certain amount of it that exists. We can't make more of it. So that also kind of adds to the value. But of course, something like Bitcoin became an investment. It's not intended to be one. It's intended to be a way to do peer-to-peer transactions with money that we can control, is what the point of it is. But of course, there's a supply and demand factor, and of course the value goes up as a result of that, or down, and there's money to be made. So it has become that. But as far as us becoming a cashless society and all of that, it's very possible. I mean, it costs 4 cents to print a $1 bill. It also costs that same amount. I think it's about 14 cents to print a $100 bill. It costs more money to make a penny than a penny's worth. So just from an economic standpoint, it doesn't make sense for the government to keep printing money. It would make more sense for them to take whatever resources they had in that regard and to create a digital money, which is something that's happening. So a cashless society is very, very, I think this not only possible, I think we're headed towards that. But something like gold and silver has proven over time that it is always valuable and it is always considered money. And so, that's the reason why I would always buy gold and silver for those reasons, especially because of the times we're in now. We were just talking about how Germany couldn't get their gold back. That's more reason to own it because that makes it more valuable.
Right.
With there being a silver shortage and all of these companies building solar panels and coming up with trying to come up with alternative energies, silver is one of the better electrical conductors. Gold is one of the best conductors of electricity, which is why you buy your iPhones and your Beats headphones and your laptop and your Mac computers, and they're super expensive. It's because of the gold and silver content in those things. And it's the same reason why you can trade those things in, and companies that pay you cash for your used, broken, and old. Exactly, right?
And laptops, tablets and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, once you understand.
Yeah, what I was just thinking. My brain's always going, but I was thinking while you were saying that we never think in terms of when you talk about gold. It's been proven that in our physiology, we too have those elements within us. So people, the first place to value. I'm always trying to give some moral story, but the first thing that you could treasure that is of value is yourself. And do for yourself, what will make life better for you and for, if you have children and family and so forth and those around you. But you are precious gold, you are precious silver. And so, this is just a word for anybody that might be watching this who may be among the protesters. And my son told me that one of my granddaughters was out there amongst the protesters. And so he told his daughter, in no uncertain terms, to go home,
Right.
I mean, instead of following the crowd, value yourself, because this is a time more than ever, another thing when we need to pool our resources, learn different ways of not only saving and so forth, but, you said you and your wife are getting into more healthier living. You mentioned you all produce various kinds of CMOS gel, and I definitely would, probably are people here. I mean, you're not just doing regular CMOS, right? So you're doing
there's elderberry infused CMOS, there's burdock root, there's bladderwrack.
You got these healthy.
Yeah. We got it. We even have a blend. We have a blend called Messiah's Moss, which kind of infuses the elderberry, the burdock root, and the bladderwrack kind of all together with the CMOS. And
that sounds like I told you that I want. I want to fix up, but what I want to do is I want to post. How somebody might because when people come on the show, what I like to do is whatever it is that you offer and so forth, our people, I want to put it out there, because the last 2-3 guests that I've had, which were my first 3 guests, actually, all had various things that they've done, and their sales have been greatly increased because we we talked about it and said what it is they have. And I can't imagine, burdock root, elderberry, and bladderwrack all together with sea moss. That's like the bomb diggity when it comes to a sea moss combination.
Yeah.
And
The
I
the
definitely
bladderwrack actually gives you the other 10 minerals that you don't get with the sea moss by itself. So even if you just did like a bladderwrack and sea moss blend, you're now getting the all 102 minerals that the human body needs in order to sustain itself. So definitely. I'm going to send you the website, but
well,
for those of you, can I?
you type it in the comment.
Oh yeah, yeah. I forgot that I can do that. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So somebody said, Massive God Squad said China is already in a cashless world.
Oh yeah, China is also backing their currency with gold too.
Okay.
China's doing a lot of different things. China is
That.
a very interesting place to pay attention to. One of the biggest economies in the world, if not the largest already. And they just started. I'm sorry, a plane is flying over my house. I apologize. They're implementing cryptocurrencies. They're buying more gold and more silver than only other country that's close to them is India in that ballpark. I mean, they're doing a lot of stuff. And again, is there something that China knows that we don't know? They're dumping U.S. Treasury bonds, so they're not buying U.S. debt anymore. There's a lot of different things in that spectrum that we can talk about that China is doing specifically that's going to impact the global economy. And again, to me, the economy that makes the most sense and I care the most about is the one under my roof. So I'm going to do everything that I can do to keep as much money within my family and within my community, and to build as much assets as I can, so that we always have something. I mean, we garden indoors and outdoors.
You do hydroponics? Do any hydroponics or anything like that? The wood with the water?
Yeah, I have this device. It's called a tower garden. And it's an indoor device. It has this big tank on the bottom with it pumps water.
You have fish in it?
No. There's no fish in it. No. It's not one of those. But it grows about 20 plants at a time indoors and in a very small area of space in my house.
Oh, wow.
And aside from that, of course, we grow outdoors. I mean, anything that I can do to be self-sufficient or to at least not have to depend on outsiders, so to speak. I do that. I stockpile. We garden. We get gold and silver. I buy cryptocurrencies as well. And I teach other people how to do all of these other things as well, because we as a people, we need to be able to do it. We need to have it. And
back to that entrepreneurial spirit.
Exactly. And money, and don't get me wrong, money is relative. To me, when you help people to get what they want or what they need, you're going to get what you want and you need. I look at that as karma or law of attraction, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not really about, me wanting to make a bunch of money. It's more about, I want to help a bunch of people reach their goals. And as a result of that, I'm going to reach mine. At least that's, and I think if we all had that mentality, if we as a whole, as a people, if we just had that mentality, we can just do a lot more. We can be a lot better off. And, things just be a lot easier, a lot happier. So I'm going to see if I can type into this chat. Okay. I'm trying to type into the chat, but I don't see my option to.
Well, if you see it at the bottom, you should be able to chat.
Let's see here.
Do you see the private chat?
Yes, I see the private chat. Yes.
Well, if you want to type it in the private chat, I'll copy it out. I think I may be able to take it and
okay.
And do it. But while you're doing that, there was a question early further back, and I want to there was a Quicksilver question, and it's coming from a wealth ambassador who asked the question, and Fanny Herring wanted to know if on the Quicksilver platform, I think when she came in, she purchased coin and she didn't get the challenge pack, and she's been in less than 30 days. So she says, can she purchase a challenge package under a team member or the person, I guess, who to increase her team points, or is it better for her to just purchase a challenge package from her? She said back office. I think
if,
the wealth
if
ambassador.
she, yeah, I would. Okay, that's okay. So I would just say if she herself is still within 30 days,
She is.
then she should buy the challenge package for herself.
She should go
Because
into her.
she should buy it for herself because that's going to allow her to have the double commission.
Right.
So
Okay.
if she buys it under somebody else's account, then yes, she would get points for that, but she won't get
The double
she
commission.
won't she still won't get the double commission for it. And at the end of the day, I want the double commission. Like, why
Right.
not?
So
Right.
she should go into her back office, or to the not the back office, to the store, the shop,
Right.
as
She can,
sign in as herself and purchase the challenge package.
yep, yeah, she can just go sign right into her own dashboard and go to member shop and just get it from there. Yep.
Okay. All right. I'm pretty sure she heard that. So while we're doing that, Jeremy L. Malik Bay says, so if gold is around $1,700 an ounce, that would make the projected spot price at 86,470 per ounce after the collapse. I don't know. They not put it as a question, like almost like is it a,
yeah, I'm not exactly sure where that number is coming from, but what he could be referencing is the amount of money that exists. So when you think about how many dollars exist, and not just dollars physically, but debt, like when we buy a car and you get a car loan for $30,000 or whatever, now all of a sudden when you sign that contract, $30,000 exists, right?
Mhm.
And so that's the case for for mortgages, cars, and so you're just creating money out of nowhere. So when you think about all of that, then yeah, you are looking at you're possibly looking at $80,000 an ounce gold, no doubt. I don't I'm not I don't like to put those kind of numbers on things because I don't deal in that personally.
Mhm.
In terms, like, I don't make those kind of projections, but he's not necessarily wrong. But then, of course, at that point, you have to think about, well, what is the value of the dollar at that point? So, really, what it's about is owning the asset itself. Because going back to our other point is, if dollars are no longer worth anything, like for instance, if an ounce of gold is $80,000, then clearly dollars aren't worth anything. But what
Nothing.
that may also mean is that I can buy a house with an ounce of gold, or I can buy, a car with, some gold, or I mean, like, just the 1 ounce. Like this is an ounce of silver, but an ounce of gold would be similar, and I would be able to just give this one thing over to somebody and buy a whole house with it.
Whole house with it. Yeah.
That is literally a possible thing that can happen. And those
Yeah.
types of things have happened before in our history. So I believe that's where that number is coming from. I can be wrong, but if you're looking at the gold to dollar ratio, which is based on the stock market, how many contracts are on, how many ounces of gold exist for every contract of gold that's traded in the stock market, it's 87 to 1. If you look at printed dollars versus, if they were backed by gold, which is the gold to dollar ratio on the USDebtClock.org, it's like $29,000 an ounce. So, I mean, no, so his number is not necessarily off or wrong or high or anything, but you
He
have to put it in perspective.
he said you divide 1,700 into the supposed 147.34 million tons of gold that was last reported in 1952. And then he said later on, down here, he said it would be 86.47. I think that's the pound. I think he got it in British pounds. But you know what? This is a good segue because so you didn't think that you would be able to be on here for 2 hours. You thought maybe you might be able to, because you do that weekly hour presentation for Quicksilver, and you were like, do we have to do an whole hour? And I said you have to give me a private chat note and say, I gotta go.
Otherwise, you're doing good.
Yeah, I told you the time is going to just go by. I was just trying to figure out how I could run. Where I told you I might have to run, but I'm not. I'm good. I'm good. But listen, it's a good segue because I wanted to say this too. We wanted to talk about the importance of entrepreneurship and acquiring precious metal assets in general, and all those things that we really should know, and educating our young people and our older folks about, the times that we're living in and what adjustments may have to be made, because things definitely are not going back to the way they were. And I hate to say it, but that new normal thing is upon us. So, and we wanted to do that, but I wanted to share the fact that, oh, you're quite welcome, Brother Jeremy. I wanted to share the fact that, have it was you that turned me on to my latest the latest saga in my serial entrepreneurship. You call yourself a serial entrepreneur, and I told you that I've been an entrepreneur probably for 35 years or more, maybe even more than that now I think about it. And everything from, diet pills to travel to prepaid, get your legal, get your vitamins and, snake oil and whatever. And Grand Sheik Taj Tariq Bey, who I work with very closely, always open, goes in his pocket. And when he's talking about, the value of silver, and he's always, I've always seen him go in his pocket and just flip out, a silver coin, not this one, but this was mine, my silver coin. But he said, you should always carry, a piece of silver. And I listened. I went and I bought a couple of pieces from the coin shop up at Booth Wynn. And I certainly paid, or gave them, exchanged more than $23.97 in notes. But I got, some old silver coins, a couple of them. And I got a couple of the bars, I guess you would call it. And I have them in a safe, but not enough to make any dent. And it's not something I do regularly. But when you presented the opportunity to me, which I missed, but then caught up with later on with regard to Quicksilver, and when you presented that to me, and I looked into it, and I realized and remember what Grand Sheik was always saying about, you need to exchange those assets. He said you get your fiat out of those banks, and you need to exchange, if you're saving, then just turn it into silver and gold. And he would say this, and he says this, not would, he says this all the time. And it just, all of a sudden, his voice was in my head. This is a no-brainer. You mean I don't have to go to the coin shop, but I can get silver, uncirculated, beautiful silver from around the world, 0.999, and sometimes 3 nines or 4 nines, the same thing. Exactly. I can get this beautiful silver, and I can also earn free silver, or if I wanted to take the fiat, I can, just because just by sharing this. The main thing for me, Ira, was really to get the silver. It wasn't so much, I wasn't looking to start a new business. I was like, I can get silver, but as an option, for the price of, additional of $9.97 to the cost of it, that I had a platform where I could share with others and get this silver. Or like I said, the fiat shows up, but the beautiful thing is that they give me the opportunity, us all opportunity, to exchange that in silver, or take the fiat, or a combination of both.
Right.
So I couldn't, wait to, get my silver. And so I ordered it on the 17th of May. And then on the 23rd of May, it came in the mail, and I did my unboxing. I didn't tell you I was going to do it.
No, I saw it though.
But I know you saw it. So I was like, I hope I don't get in trouble. But anyway, I did my unboxing, and, like the rest is history. Then I find out that, it's the birthday month for the company, and there's a competition going on. And so, I'm moving along, trying to, do my thing based on what I think, I've done in the past, and how but I'm more excited about this because I have, 10 pieces of silver, really. So I got real silver. It's not silver certificates and, IOUs, and you might get them. And so I wanted to make, this opportunity, which is scrolling across, for information on the saving the silver. And not just me. What I like the fact is that what I'm doing is helping other people, like you said, and it's an easy no-brainer. And I'm not going to brag about what I commission I've earned in 2 weeks, but I will say this: in all my years of selling stuff that had little to no value, this is the first time I have made that much. I've invested a lot in other people's dreams and visions. And Chrissy and Keith and Chrissy, their dream was to present the silver because they had the means and they had the experience of both I guess network marketing, and she being in the precious metals business. They not only are they married, but they married their two passions and
Right.
created a way for people to acquire silver and to earn fiat or free silver, which is what it's about these days. I mean, I wouldn't, even though we can go way up, I would just convert that into silver. And so
that's literally not to cut you off, but just to add to what you're saying, I have not taken any fiat out of Quicksilver yet.
Okay.
Literally every dime that I've earned in commission from that company, I was able to use it to acquire more silver. And that is literally the only reason why I even do the business. I want the silver, and I don't want it to come out of my pocket.
Right.
That's the whole thing about building wealth, right? It didn't. I mean, it doesn't really cost me anything to do that. I can share this with as many people as I possibly can. You have this wonderful platform and a lot of followers and viewership. It's nothing just to share the information and just help people. Right. And we can help a lot of people earn these silver for free. And then to your point with the contest last month, which you spanked me in, by the way. There's free silver, quite literal free silver, to be gained as a result of just sharing it with people. I don't take any of that lightly. To me, it just makes sense. I'm a common sense person. I do what makes sense, and it's simple. Real quick, if I can, give me 1 second. I want to do something. Somebody in the chat said if you had seeds, you would be more wealthy. And this is just one of many of my wife's seed boxes.
Okay,
so I have seeds too.
You have seeds.
Yeah. So
that was Master God Squad. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
What he's also said, we Asiatic better check all silver that we do purchase because there are a lot of nickel that being sold as silver. Make sure you have a magnet to test the real silver. If the magnet does not stick, okay. Okay.
Right. I mean, basically, obviously, anytime you acquire, precious metals from anywhere, you want to make sure it's legitimate and it's real. Which is why, for me, Quicksilver has become my primary method and my primary source of acquiring silver, because I know exactly where that silver comes from. It comes directly.
Go off the camera for just a minute.
It's okay. It comes directly from the various mints that the coins are minted from. And of course, not only that, I've built a relationship with the owners of the company, myself personally. And I did that on purpose because, again, I want to make sure that anything that I'm putting my effort, energy, and resources into, that it's legitimate, and I'm going to get that back. And I have not been let down yet. I'm actually, it's kind of addicting. Once you start getting silver, coming to you, you want to get more. You just want to. It sometimes have to separate. I become competitive. My wife also acquires precious metals too. Which is the other thing. My wife got her own money too. Don't get it twisted, right? So there's months where or weeks where we'll have contests with each other. Who's gonna do the most, or what did you do, or oh you got some this week. Oh, I gotta go in and get some. And we make it fun and exciting. I mean, we're at the end of the day, we just want something to pass down to our children, and something that we know is going to outlive us and even outlive them. That's the best part. Let me see. I was looking at the question and that came up. I saw somebody say something about the seed, so I wanted to make sure I showed that. Let's see. You're dealing in the realm of God with gold and silver. Indeed, indeed, indeed. We talked about how silver and gold. That's God's money right there. Um, we can't duplicate it. It is the ultimate store of wealth, and that is why it's money, and that's why it'll always be valuable. Um, where do you go to get gold? I'm sorry, I'm taking over your job. Look, I'm reading
No,
the
go
question.
ahead. No, well, go ahead.
Where do you go to get gold and silver? Again, silver. We talked about Quicksilver. I also live here in Delaware. I'm not sure if for those of you who are listening who do, but there's a place on Marsh Road called Diamond State Coin. They've been in business for over 40 years, and I've been going to them over the course of the last few years, buying silver and primarily silver from there. Some gold sometimes, but gold. I actually personally get gold from a company called Carrot Bars International, which you're also affiliated with as well, Dr. G. And the reason I do that is because, again, we talked about, small increments of gold. There is 1 gram of gold in a card, a credit card size card, and it's heat sealed in here for security. But, this is a 1 gram of pure 24 karat gold. And, I have, here's several of them. Well, here we go. I'm off the camera. There we go. Several of them there. But because to your point earlier, if I'm buying groceries and I got a 1 ounce coin, a store can't give me change. But if I have a $50 or $60 piece of silver, well, that's what makes it a little bit easier for me to do some transactions with, and I don't have to worry about getting change or losing my whole asset. So that's also, and again, same thing. I don't pay for gold out of pocket. I maximize and leverage a system to do that. And I highly recommend that that's the way anybody should acquire precious metals, because it's the cheapest way to get it. I shouldn't say cheapest, the easiest way. I'll say the easiest way to get it. Leverage your system. Help other people acquire it. And then it'll be given right back to you. So that's what I do. But again, while I do buy gold and silver, if you're somebody who's thinking about investments or thinking about making a very calculated investment, then silver to me is the better of the two in regards to, one, it's less expensive to get into, and two, the gains or the possible gains when you compare it to the all-time high price. There's more wiggle room to make more money in silver than there is gold right now, as we speak today. That won't always be the case, but that's the case right now. And so until it's not, I'll be heavy on buying silver personally. But yeah, let's see. Any other questions?
Yeah, because I told when Brett Forney asked about gold and silver, can't tell you necessarily where to get them both together except for Coin Shop. But you're right. There's Carrot Bars, which allows you to buy those small grams, and there's definitely Quicksilver, which I am highly supportive of. That's because you get your own shop, and you can also you can go on there and you can send people to your online shop to purchase as well as you yourself. And I mean, I won't have to pay for my monthly wealth auto save at where I am right now for the next couple months. So, and I think I won something that I don't even have to pay for the wealth, the accelerator, that other site. I think
the marketing.
I won the 6 months, and I won the lifetime. So I guess that nullifies the 6 months, because I also won the lifetime. And I'm so excited about those coins that are coming. Whether I get in the first, second, or third places, but
I think you're a lock for that third place. You might even be in second. I'm not sure, but you were skanking us.
What I noticed is that I was like, after 6, there were no women. I said, I'm the only woman, unless their name is something different. I said, I don't see any other women above that number. And so I was getting excited about just being, representing for the sister, but when this is the most amazing company that I have ever I mean, and if I was in a pinch and I really needed to take that fiat out and do something quickly with it, I could do it, but I'm not, that's not where I am. So, just, the one commitment, the only commitment for this company is that you auto save 1 coin a month. And to me, you can't even go out for a meal. Well, right now you probably could do a takeout, but normally if you would go once a month and do say eat out or something, you would spend more than $23.97. Now you want to start, put it in your budget to, maybe you don't get it through us, you don't have to, but we have been admonished to acquire and and to save silver as it may come in, and no, it will come in very, very, very handy and useful in the time, in the times that we're facing. I really do believe that. Gosh, guess where we at? 1 minute, and we're like 50. I mean, less than 5 minutes from the end of this show, and here we thought we weren't going to get 2 hours in. I don't know if you have any last words of advice to the viewers. I'm going to put something at the end of your interview, if you don't mind. Sure. That I wrote a poem that I think is so relevant. I actually wrote this poem. I started it in 2016, July 14, 2016, and I updated it a little bit like yesterday. And so I can't remember it, but I have it over here, and I want to share it and put it on record. It's going to be in my forthcoming book called The Thoughtarian. I have my other book up here on my shelf. Poetry is The Musings of an Undercover Writer.
Oh wow! Okay,
that book is here.
See, you're inspiring me now, because that's another thing a lot of people don't know about me.
Yeah, that's another thing to the people. I carried this manuscript around for such a long time, and Grand Sheikh Tashriq Bey would have me stand up in front of the people at the meetings and read a poem out there. Dr. Naila, he was like, read a poem. When it went from being on a copy paper to a real book, and it was just such a, and Grand Sheikh Tashriq Bey wrote the foreword in the book, and so now I'm and there's me in the back, because that's kind of what I looked like a few years ago. Let me get that right.
I see you.
I kind of useful. That was back in 2013 when the book came out. But anywho, this is a fairly good book. It's got some good stuff in it that I wrote. But I wrote a poem that I had to go in, and I read it to Grand Sheikh, and he's like, "You really should share that, Dr. G." Dr. Naila, he doesn't call me Dr. G. He calls me Dr. Naila. He's Dr. Naila, you really need to share that. And I think putting it at the end, after, if you have any last, things you want to say. And the good news for this is that they don't cut us off at 2 hours, because it's my show. We can go for 4, but we're going to be respectful of the fact that you are a father of small children and you need to get in the house. But I'm going to do the poem at the end.
Yeah, it's all right. So the only thing I want to add, first of all, I want to say you're motivating me even more so now, because another thing about me is I write as well. I write poetry, and I do have a science fiction novel that I published a few years ago, and I need to finish the second part of it. My brother is like, Ira, come on, I need you to help. I need you to finish. Right? We work together. So, but there's that. I think the moral of tonight is really, especially in times like now, all of us are just looking for different ways to make money, or make more money, or to make ends meet, or to find other ways to keep our lifestyle going. And my advice to you is, think about what you're passionate about. Think about the things that you would do for free, and turn that into something. I mean, you can totally do it. You can write books, you can, sell products, or if you make products, you can monetize that. But then at the end of the day, we're all doing these different things to make money. That's why we're doing it. So if you're doing it to make money, then you need to save real money, appreciating assets, gold and silver. Why? Because they outpace inflation. They hold value over time. It is a safer store of value than your bank account is. And especially in times like now, specifically, they are poised to actually explode in value. So now is the most opportune time. If you're somebody who's never gotten into precious metals before, this is probably the best time, and this is really the best opportunity is now. I don't know what's going to happen a month from now or a year from now, but I can promise you the opportunity will probably not be as good. Now is the time. And that's really it. I want to hear this poem, to be honest with you. So
Okay.
I thank you so much. I was going to say, I'll thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Ira. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for, giving me a new focus, and I'm just thinking, creatively about a lot of things, just because of, I think, and Hassan Ghazi Al Bey, who was on last week, who's the astrologer, gave me a financial chart reading, shows that I haven't even reached there in this month of June. I think it's between something and the 11th. I have to go back and look at I have the graph, but I'm coming to a point like where I'm getting ready to go like straight up financially, and then it'll level off and start coming down. But that's okay, because you in those good times, that's when you prepare yourself for the lean times, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
to my viewers. Thank you, Sister Fanny. Thank you for joining Ira, in case you didn't know, my team is called That Silver Life. So thank
Okay.
you for joining Team That Silver Life, which is,
Yes.
what I call my Quicksilver team. But I want to share this poem with you all. And I want you all, if nothing else, I want you all to I like the poem. I normally don't like my stuff that much. I mean, you know how you get your own work, but I just think that this is inspired. It's inspired beyond me, and it's called "When We Gonna Be." So I'm going to have to read it. It's kind of long. It says, "Trying to figure out who we really want to be, but still fighting and settling for a false identity that distorts and conceals our true nationality while trading places with the real enemy. Wake up, get up. When we really gonna see? Do you know why there's no ground on which to stand? Because we're looking for redemption, unaware we're on our land. They got us focused on returning to one small patch of ground when throughout the universe can our presence be found. We're embracing his Tory while neglecting the glory of our ancient existence and deity. Truth is, living like thugs and paupers is a real tragedy. We protest and march blindly like lemmings off an edge, but can't find time to study for some real knowledge. Predictably programmed for social response and reaction, oblivious to the fact that we're being strategically distracted by the coordinated efforts of so-called deep state factions. Will our ignorance help their plan to depopulate the land so robotic artificial intelligence become their newest slaves as we continually cry out to fabricated mythos, what must I do to be saved? Or will we rise above their lies and reconnect with the Most High, who's not distant in the skies, but inside you where true divinity resides? Time to call forth the divine spark of light that decided with determined might to journey 9 months to a distant world to take up residence in a baby boy or girl. Selah. See, I'm not trying to raise a stink, but I'm trying to get you to think on a more critical level. You must know who is the real devil and not be fooled by what you're shown. The jig is up, their cover's blown. This stuff ain't real. It's all a dream tied to an elaborate hocus pocus scheme to keep everyone ignorant and under subjection and the world in chaos in need of corrections. See, they've never played fair. They play straight down the middle. And right now, most folks being played like a fiddle. So we must stop looking for help to come from a system that was designed to keep us trapped without wisdom. I know for a fact we are the answer we desire to see. So tell me, my people, when we gonna be? Ashe. Hope you all enjoyed that. Hope you all enjoyed that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. So that's the question. When we gonna be? When we gonna be what we should be, can be, say we are. We need to be that. We need to be that. And now is the time. Again, I thank my guests, Brother Ira DeGramMaster Spencer, my upline, the one who's pushing me to do greater things in the twilight of my life at 65. I'm feeling alive. I'm detoxing. I'm getting ready to get some of that sea moss and all those mixture gels from you and your wife. And I'm happy. I'm happy in spite of what's going on, but I want our people to get out of being, led through the nose, being programmed through media and social media and what's on the television. We got to get away from that. And we got to listen to some real wholesome stuff and put some stuff into practice. Tell me when we gonna be. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Support the House of Reawakening Minds. Sign up if you want to get more information about the Quicksilver. There's the information there. And support, like I said. Oh, one last thing, Brother Ira, you have a weekly presentation on Thursday nights.
Yes.
on Zoom.
Yes.
I don't have it here, but there's a Zoom meeting. But where can they? Ira DeGramMaster is Facebook. That's your Instagram and your Facebook. If you want to get more information about that, do you post that there?
Yes, I do post it there on Facebook, as well as our group Silver Worldwide, which is a public group that you're welcome to add any new wealth ambassadors or even prospects to our group, so that they can just kind of see exactly what we do and how we do it. So it'll be all over Instagram, all over Facebook, and I'll make sure I directly send it to you as well, so that we can you can get it out to your people as well. Definitely.
Okay, all right then. Well, listen, we're gonna go out with that. We're gonna go out with my theme music. I love this. Dr. G song.
It's a good song.
It is. Dr. G. Really? Who's she? Yeah, that's me.